This is Top Accolade Global News Update. I am Abiodun Mohammed. President Vladimir Putin said the situation in 4 areas of Ukraine that Moscow has declared are part of Russia was extremely difficult and ordered security services to step up surveillance to secure its borders and combat new threats. Putin's comments made on Security Services Day, widely celebrated in Russia, came as Kiev renewed calls for more weapons after Russian drones hit energy targets and as fears grew that Moscow's ally, Belarus, could open a new invasion front against Ukraine. Putin ordered the Federal Security Services (FSB) to step up surveillance of Russian society and the country's borders to combat the emergence of new threats from abroad and traitors at home. In a rare admission of the invasion of Ukraine not going smoothly, Putin cautioned about the difficult situation in Ukraine's regions that Moscow moved to annex in September and ordered the FSB to ensure the safety of people living there. In September, a defiant Putin moved to annex a swath of Ukraine, some 15% of the country, in a Kremlin ceremony, but earlier this month, he said the war can be a long process. Joint exercises between the Chinese and Russian Navy in the East China Sea that begin this week will further deepen cooperation between Moscow and Beijing, China has announced. The drills will be held off the coast of Zhejiang province, south of Shanghai, from Wednesday until next Tuesday, according to a brief notice posted on Monday by China's Eastern Theater Command of the People's Liberation Army. The Russian Defense Ministry said on Monday that ships involved in the joint drills included the Varyag missile cruiser, the Marshal Shaposhnikov destroyer, and 2 corvette-class ships of Russia's Pacific Fleet. The ministry said the Chinese Navy planned to deploy several surface warships and a submarine for the exercise, and that military aircraft from both sides will take part. China provided no immediate information on what unit would be taking part in the exercise, which comes at a time when ties between Moscow and Beijing, while strained by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, have remained strong, and China has provided political cover for Russia's war on its neighbor amid international condemnation of Moscow's aggression. Cities across China scrambled to install hospital beds and build fever screening clinics on Tuesday as authorities reported 5 more deaths, and international concern grew about Beijing's surprise decision to let the virus run free. China this month began dismantling its stringent zero-COVID regime of lockdowns and testing after protests against curbs that had kept the virus at bay for 3 years, but at a big cost to society and the world's second largest economy. Now, as the virus sweeps through a country of 1.4 billion people who lack natural immunity, having been shielded for so long, there is growing concern about possible deaths, virus mutations, and the impact on the economy and trade. US State Department spokesperson Ned Price said on Monday the potential for the virus to mutate as it spreads in China was a threat for people everywhere. Beijing reported 5 COVID-related deaths on Tuesday, following 2 on Monday, which were the first fatalities reported in weeks. In total, China has reported just 5,242 COVID deaths since the pandemic emerged in the central city of Wuhan in late 2019, a very low toll by global standards. Zimbabwe has proposed incentives to accelerate 1,000 megawatts of privately owned solar energy projects worth about $1 billion, Finance Minister Mutuli Nkube announced on Monday, as the country scrambles to plug an electricity deficit that threatens to compound its economic woes. The Southern African country is currently generating about a third of its 2,000 megawatt peak power demand and experiencing up to 18 hours of power outages daily after its main Kariba hydropower plant cut electricity generation due to low water levels. The country's aging coal plants are prone to frequent breakdowns, impacting mines, industry, and households. Zimbabwe's drive towards generating 1,100 megawatts from renewable energy sources by 2025 has been slowed by lack of investment by independent power producers, spooked by the country's currency volatility and uneconomic tariffs. Thousands of fans have lined up in the middle of the night to try to get a glimpse of the Argentina football team that won one of the greatest World Cup finals of all time. The plane transporting the World Cup winners and their captain Lionel Messi back from Qatar arrived at the Ezeiza International Airport in Buenos Aires at 2:40 a.m. local time on Tuesday. Having beaten France in Sunday's thrilling final, the players will now spend the night at the Argentine Football Association AFA training complex near the airport. They will then begin a tour of the Buenos Aires city center from midday on Tuesday, with millions expected out in the streets on what President Alberto Fernandez declared a national holiday. Messi, who scored twice in the final, was the first player to emerge from the plane, holding the World Cup aloft, with coach Lionel Scaloni right behind him as they walked past a sign that read, "Thank you, champions." That is the size of top accolade global news update. You can follow us on our social media platforms as displayed on your screen. Happy Tuesday.